Hi everybody, welcome to Baking with Stacey. So today I'm going to be making my American baked cheesecake. So it's one of my favourites, and for some reason, I don't know why I always remember this, but when I worked as a waitress, I was about 16, 17, we used to serve American baked cheesecake, and oh my God, to this day, I still dream about it. It's amazing, love it. I used to always cut the corners off, and anybody that worked with me and knew me, I was lethal for taking chunks out. I was so naughty. Anyway, so when I found out I couldn't have gluten and dairy anymore, I listed all the sweet treats and all the desserts that I would love to still be able to eat, and American baked cheesecake was one of them. So I'm going to make that for you today. I hope you love it. I need to go and get my huge food processor because I literally do use that throughout this recipe. So if you don't have one of the big KitchenAid food processors that I've got, you could possibly use any branded food processor is absolutely fine, but I've got a really little mini one. Basically, you could just do everything in small batches. You could also use, if you want, a NutriBullet. You could definitely use a NutriBullet, but you just have to do in batches again. You do need some kind of processor because you really need to get all of the ingredients really kind of obviously processed and mashed up. Okay, I'll go and get my food processor and we'll get going. Okay, so I've got my food processor. We can get going now, but just before I start, put your oven on to 160 degrees Celsius, gas mark 4. And you also need to line yourself a cake tin. So you want one where the bottom removes. I got this because I'm just strange. I love antique shops, so I got this from an antique shop ages ago. So I think it's a 20 centimetre diameter cake tin. That's the kind of diameter that you're looking for. Okay, let's get going. So first of all, I can't even see anything, but I've got all the ingredients prepared. Okay, so for the ingredients, we'll make the base first and then we'll do the filling later. So to start with the base, I've got 100 grams of pecans. These are organic, but you know, being realistic, I know organic's expensive, but it's healthier, and if you can always eat organic, then that's what I would really advise. Then we've got 40 grams of Medjool Dates, and I've taken the stones out, and then we've got 50 grams of hazelnuts, and then this is the biscuit crumb mix, which is at the beginning of the book. It's a separate recipe, but what you can do what I've done today, and that is I got some digestive biscuits that are gluten and dairy free and the most healthiest version that I could find, refined sugar wise, and I've just crushed them up, and that's 140 grams of biscuit crumb. And then we've got 30 millilitres of coconut oil, and you want to melt that as well because we're going to add that once we've combined all the ingredients. So let's get going. So we've got the pecan nuts. I'm sorry, I have to put all my utensils and everything to one side when I'm baking because I've just got OCD about keeping the whole area clean. Anyway, so I've just put the 40 grams of Medjool Dates in. I love Medjool Dates, honestly. I could literally eat a Medjool Date on its own filled with peanut butter. Can't have peanut butter at the moment anyway because of my mold sickness. It's one of the foods I can't have. But then we've got 50 grams of hazelnuts. And then we get rid of the plate. And then we've got all the biscuit crumb. As I say, I've got a homemade biscuit crumb if you have the time. And then if not, gluten and dairy free. Crushed biscuits are absolutely fine. Okay, that's everything in, and we'll give this a quick blast. I can't see what I'm doing, but a couple of minutes, and this will be all really nice and bound together. Okay, that's enough. I think there has to be a certain skill in that, definitely. Operating a food processor backwards, reverse, from behind. So that's completely combined now. I'm going to remove that. We'll get rid of the processor. Right, so now you need to add the melted coconut oil. Give that a good swish around. We need every little bit. When you're mixing this, it might feel as though there's not enough coconut oil, but there is. Just keep kind of really kneading it and making sure that all the crumbs and all the nuts and the whole mixture is completely bound with the coconut oil. Okay, so this is the perfect consistency. You can just about see that there's some moist around all the biscuit crumb. So now we just want to get this biscuit base into the tin, ready to go. Excuse my blue tack on the middle because the only thing that I could find to keep the parchment paper together. And let's get the biscuit base all inside our cake tin, every last little bit. And what you want to do is spread this around evenly. You can even go up the sides a little bit if you want, just to make sure when we put the filling for the American baked cheesecake in, it just looks a little bit nicer. So I'm going to use my hands now because you want to really make sure that all the biscuit base mixture, the biscuit, the nuts, the coconut oil are all really bound together so they create a really nice, firm, crunchy, gorgeous, tasty biscuit base. And don't forget, it's all gluten, dairy, and egg, and non-refined sugar free, unless you're using supermarket gluten-free and dairy-free digestive biscuits, which is fine. If you're just cutting back on refined sugar, then that's fine. It's a treat now and again. Right, okay, that's our base done. I'll put this in the freezer now, not the fridge, because I want it to really set as quickly as possible whilst I prepare the filling. And yeah, I'll get this in the freezer. So now I'm going to make the filling for my baked American cheesecake. So, you know, we've got loads of ingredients here. Main ingredient is cashew nuts. There's nothing new there. I think there's a lot of people out there making cheesecake with cashew nuts. They're such a creamy nut. Obviously, you have to soak them first. So it's 250 grams of cashew nuts soaked in boiling water for a minimum of 1 hour. If you can, best results to make them super soft and mushy would be overnight. But again, if you're rushing for time, that's fine. I actually soaked these overnight last night because I wanted to get that maximum creaminess today, because that's what's going to replace the cream cheese, which is the dairy, and give us that really gorgeous creamy consistency that we're looking for, so that we're not compromising at all on taste and texture in any of this food that we're eating. I've got 200 millilitres of coconut milk here. I personally go for the Biona range, and that's mainly because it's the cleanest coconut milk that I've found. There's no thickening agents, because some thickening agents can aggravate the gut. No preservatives, no E numbers, and no added sugar. Then we've got the zest and the juice of 1 large organic lemon. And then we've got 2 tablespoons of corn flour. Again, I use organic, and I always go for Dove's Farm. They do some great free-from ranges, and for me, that's just the ultimate, the best. I know it's completely gluten-free then. And then we've got 125 grams of coconut yogurt. I've chosen a coconut yogurt that's got a vanilla taste to it, which is a little bit more naughty because there's obviously going to be some sugar in there somewhere. I'm going to use maple syrup in this recipe. In my book, I use honey. Vegans will want to obviously not use the honey. You can replace it with maple syrup again. I've gone for pure organic maple syrup. And then we've got apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, all great for the gut as well. And then I've got 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Okay, so this is the ultimate ingredient, and this is aquafaba. For those that don't know, aquafaba is the water drained from a tin of chickpeas. When you really whisk this, it goes really light and fluffy. It's amazing to watch it honestly, how sad am I that I get really excited about watching aquafaba turn into a fluffy white mound. Today we're putting it in American baked cheesecake to help set it. And I always make sure that my tins that I use, if I use any tin products at all, which is really very rare for me, that there's no BPA used within the tins neither. And then we've got a pinch of Himalayan salt. So it's all these ingredients banged into the food processor and blasted, and that's literally our filling ready to go. So let's get the soaked cashew nuts in there first. Don't want to overload, which I've made that mistake a few times. We'll get the creaminess going with our coconut milk. I always like to get as much as I can out. Okay, let's turn that on and give that a quick mush. Okay, then we'll add our lemon. Then the vanilla essence and our apple cider vinegar. The corn flour. Okay, I'll just give all of that a quick whiz. Whilst this is whizzing around and mixing, I'm going to slowly add the maple syrup. And if I was using honey, this would be a little bit harder, but we'll get the maple syrup in. We'll get that in too. Okay, so now for the yogurt. Oh my god, I can smell the lemon, and not that it's kind of too strong, but it just tastes sweet and lovely already. And how nice to know that it's not full of rubbish and it's healthy sweetness. So there we go, there's our coconut yogurt going in. Again, adding more creaminess, and then a little pinch of Himalayan salt. In fact, more than a pinch. You probably want a good teaspoon in there, really. So that's literally all the ingredients in there now, so let's hope it doesn't. So we just want this to mix a couple of minutes just to make sure everything's really bound and we know it's nice and thick and creamy, and we're going to get that really nice consistency that we really want to make our American baked cheesecake. Okay, we're all set. There's our mixture all ready, and it smells absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to get rid of this huge machine, get the base out of the freezer, and we'll get that poured in and get it in the oven. Okay, so I've got the base out of the freezer and it's good to go. So now I'm going to pour all our filling straight on top. Okay, we've got all the filling now in our cake tin ready for our American baked cheesecake to go in the oven. So all you need to do is, you'll probably see that there'll be loads of little bubbles on top. So just give it a little bit of a bang. It's just a little technique to get rid of all the little bubbles, and you don't want any air bubbles in there. Okay, all ready. I'm going to take my blue tack off now that was holding my parchment paper together. So the oven's on, ready to go. Let's get this in the oven, and the sooner it's ready, the sooner we can eat it. So it needs to go in anywhere between, just use your own judgment, but around 50 minutes. I've made one where it took 45 minutes, and I've made one where it took me an hour and 20 minutes. So the best way of knowing, keeping your eye on it, is keep the door closed for as long as you can. Make sure you can see it. And after 50 minutes onwards, then you can start to take it in and out of the oven and test it and see what you think. But what it should do is it should go brown on the outside, looking nice and toasty, and the centre should be jelly-like. You do not want the mixture still looking fluidy in the centre, but cooked on top and wobbling jelly-like in the middle is absolutely spot on and perfect. Okay, I'll get this in the oven. Welcome back. There's the most gorgeous American baked cheesecake. It smells incredible. You can literally eat it plain if you want. You could put some whipped coconut cream on top and decorate it however you wish. You could even drizzle dark chocolate on top. What I like to do is I like to put some kind of fruit topping on top. So on this occasion, and in the book as well, I use blueberries. So all we need to do to make the topping is, we've got 200 grams of blueberries and 100 grams of coconut sugar. I need to go off and just put these on a hob. They just need heating for 5 or 10 minutes. You just want the sugar to dissolve and the berries to start to pop. And once you get to that stage, the topping is ready. So I'm just going to bob off camera and go and put these on the hob, and I'll pop a little clip on so you can see what it should look like. Okay, so I've got this on a really high heat, and it's really frothing up, so it's really hard to see when the sugar's caramelised. So I'm going to turn it down, and what you need to do is you need to constantly stir this. Just keep your eye on it, keep stirring, but I would say anywhere between 8 to 10 minutes would be absolutely perfect. And those berries have popped, so this is definitely good to go. So as you can see, I've got my blueberry topping here. Just be really careful when you're making it, not to, I've said to stir constantly, but just carefully stir. You can over mash. You want to just catch it at the right time where the sugar's caramelised and just before the blueberries get too mushy. Okay, right, so let's get our topping on. Look at those blueberries. Really sweet, and they're caramelised in coconut sugar. And then we're just going to drizzle some of the sauce, because it's so nice, all around, so that everybody gets a little taste of the berry sauce when they bite into their piece of gluten, dairy-free, no refined sugar, and vegan, which means no eggs or animal products, super healthy American baked cheesecake. Look at that. The consistency and the taste are just like the real thing, I promise you. It took me 2 years to master. There's no way I was compromising on taste or texture at all. Let's cut a nice big slice and we'll serve it up and we'll take some photos. Okay. Very carefully. Oh, look at that. Now, if this was me, I'd be cutting the biggest slice going, because I'm just so greedy when it comes to sweet stuff. But we'll cut a really nice size portion. Everybody can have a little taste, and then we'll just finish it off with making sure that our gorgeous baked American cheesecake looks nice, especially if you're making this for a dinner party for your guests. It's an absolute winner. My favourite thing about this cheesecake is that you can just see that the texture is just like the real thing, just like American baked cheesecake, which was always my aim. I just love this cheesecake. So that's it, baked American cheesecake. Please let me know if you make it and share any photos with me. It'd be great to see them. If you want to see more of Baking with Stacey, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel below, and to be notified next time I do a baking video or any video at all, tap the bell icon. And don't forget to like. And I'll see you in my next video.